देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीर्मुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome all the devotees for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we'll continue the fourth canto, fourth chapter, Sati quits her body. In the last class, we discussed about, we concluded the words spoken by Sati. After giving a point by point rebuttal to Daksha's criticism of Lord Shiva, now Sati is going to quit her body. So that is described by Maitreya Rishi. So somebody can recite after me. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Ityadhare Dakshamanudya Shatruhan.
Itya Advare Daksham Manudya Satruham.
Shita Udicim Nishasada Shantavak.
Sita Udichim Nisasada Shantavaka.
Sprishtva Jalam Pita Dukula Samvrita.
Prishtva Jalam Pita Dukula Samvrita.
Sorry. Nimilya Drugyogapatam Samavishat.
Nimilya Drigyogpatham Samavisat. Translation. Maitreya the sage told Vidura, "O any letter of enemies, while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga."
That's the background sound which is coming. Okay. Maitreya Uvacha. Ityadvare Dakshamanudya Shatruhan. Shita Udicim Nishasada Shantavak. Srishtva Jalam Pita Dukula Samvrita Nimilya Drikyoga Patam Samavishat. So, Maitreya Rishi is saying that in this way, after having spoken to Daksha Prajapati, Advare means in the Yajnashala. In the Yajnashala, Daksham Anudya, after having spoken to Daksha, Sati sat down on the earth, Udichim, facing the northern direction. Facing the northern direction. Jalam Sprishtva. So she performed Achaman. Pita Dukula Samvrita. She was wearing actually Pita Dukula, yellow garments, or the saffron garments. Background sound is coming. She was wearing yellow saffron garments. And Nimilya Drik Yoga Patam Samavishat. Closing her eyes, she started practicing the Ashtanga Yoga. So Vishwanath Chakotipat explains that it seems there is a tradition that those who desire to die should dress oneself in the saffron clothes. So therefore, Pita Dukula Samvrita, she is actually, she was wearing the saffron cloth. So Prabhupada also mentions that. So Sati, instead of killing Daksha, she decided to quit her own body. So Daksha Prajapati definitely committed a great offense to Shiva. But as a daughter, she cannot kill the father. She decided that it is better to kill my own body. So therefore, she started practicing the yoga, Ashtanga yoga to get her body. So how did she learn yoga? So Sati is the wife of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a master in yoga practice. Either she might have learned from Lord Shiva, or because being the daughter of Daksha Prajapati, Daksha might have taught Sati the Ashtanga yoga. So the perfection of yoga is that when a person is able to give up one's body according to one's own desire, Ichha Mrityu, that is one of the yoga siddhi. So Bhishma Dev could leave his body according to his own desire. So then when the yogi actually leaves his body according to his own desire, he can go to a place wherever he likes. So it seems that Sati wanted to give up her body and transfer herself to another body which is not connected with Daksha. It's not connected with Daksha. So next shloka. Kritva samana vanilaujitasana.
Kritva samana vanilaujitasana.
Sodanamuttāya cha nabichakrata.
Sodan uttapyana vichakratah.
Shanairhridi sthapya dhiyorasi sthitam.
Shanairidhi sthapya dhiyorasi sthitam.
Kanthad bhruvormadhyamaninditānayat.
Kanthad dhruvor madhyam anidititanyayat. Translation. First of all, she sat in the required sitting posture, and then she carried the live air upwards and placed it in the position of equilibrium near the navel. Then she raised her live air mixed with intelligence to the heart and then gradually towards the pulmonary passage, and from there to between her eyebrows.
So this verse describes the method of yoga which was practiced by Sati. So Kritva Samana Anilau Jitasana, she was sitting in the proper asana. And then she practiced the pranayama. Samana Vanilau. That means she merged the prana and the apana into one with the samana air at the navel chakra. Sodanam Uttapya cha Nabi chakra. So she merged the prana vayu and the apana vayu into the samana vayu at the nabi part. And then she raised that to the she raised it with the Udana Vayu from the navel, from the Nabi to the place of the heart. And then she raised it to the Kanta, Kantad Bruvor Madhyam. And from Kanta, she slowly raised it to the center of her eyebrow. So that's why this verse describes the yoga practice. She was sitting the proper asana, and then by merging the pranavayu and apanavayu at the nabi, and then she raised that vayu to the region of the heart, and from there to the kanta, and from there to the place in between the eyebrows. So further, so Srila Prabhupada explains this. This is also called as Ashtanga Yoga or Shatchakra Yoga. Shatchakra Yoga. So there are 6 circles of air circulation within the body. So a person practices the yoga in order to raise the air from the nabi to gradually upwards. So, and before practicing this Shatchakra Yoga, one also has to practice the different asana postures. Because asana, pranayam, they help a person to control the breathing. So those things are explained. So, of course, in the current times, the modern days, people practice yoga mainly for some good health. But the real purpose of yoga is not simply good health, it is for spiritual realization. But that kind of yoga practice to attain spiritual realization in the current time, Kali Yuga, is practically impossible. We can practice yoga only to maintain some good health. So, and then further Prabhupada says that, in other words, yoga practice is not to keep the body fit. Any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit. Yeah, the purpose of yoga is not simply to keep the body fit. Practicing yoga, it will help to keep the body fit, but the real purpose of yoga is spiritual realization. In the current time, Ashtanga yoga cannot be difficult to practice Ashtanga yoga for spiritual realization. We can only practice it only for good health. For spiritual realization, one has to practice the Harinam Sankirtan, Srimad Bhagavata Shravana, direct Bhakti Yoga. So the good health is secondary byproduct of any spiritual process. Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. But if one takes it that the ultimate aim of yoga is to maintain the body, then he is mistaken. So current times, many times the yoga courses are advertised as a course to keep the body fit, to attract the people to the course. That is why you will find many advertisements. Even in, I remember near the temple also there was one advertisement. But the real perfection of yoga is elevation of the soul to a higher position, or the liberation of the soul from the material entanglement. Either getting liberated from this world or elevating a soul to a higher position to get a better body. So the Bhakti Yoga process directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets, where the life is eternally blissful and full of knowledge. In this way, this verse describes the Shatchakra Yoga practiced by Sati. Next shloka. Evam swadeham makatam mahiyasa.
Evam swadeham mahatam mahiyasa.
Muhus samaropitamangkamadarat.
Muhus samaropitamangkamadarat.
Jihasati daksharusha manasvini.
Jihasati daksharusa manaswini.
दधार गात्रेष्वनिलाग्निधारणाम्
Dadharagatreshwanilagni Translation. Thus, in order to give up her body, which had been so respectfully and affectionately seated on the lap of Lord Shiva, who is worshipped by great sages and saints, Sati, due to anger towards her father, began to meditate on the fiery air within the body.
So in this shloka, it is described that how Sati meditated on the fire and the air element in her limbs. Evam swadeham mahatam mahiyasa. So desiring to give up the body, jihasati, desiring to give up the body. What kind of body? Which so Sati's body was worshipped even by Lord Shiva. How Lord Shiva would give respect to Sati's body? Muhuhu samaropitam ankam. Lord Shiva would show respect to Sati's body by putting Sati's body on his lap with a great respect, adarat. So that was the nature of Sati's body. So Lord Shiva would show great respect to Sati's body by keeping her on his lap. But Sati decided to give up that body because she felt that this body is related to Daksha. Daksha Rusha. Daksha Rusha means because of the anger directed to Daksha. And she decided to give up that body. And with that in mind, Dadara Gatreshu Anilagni Dharanam. She began to meditate on the Anila and Agni. Anila is the air, Agni is the fire. She decided to meditate. She began to meditate on the fire element and the air element in her limbs. So in this purport also, Srila Prabhupada highlights on the point Mahatam Mahiyasa. Lord Shiva is described as the best of all the great souls. So although Sati's body was born of Daksha, Shiva used to show respect to that body by keeping her on his lap. That was considered a great token of respect. In that sense, Sati's body was not ordinary. So, but then still she decided to give it up because her body reminded her of the connection with Daksha. So this whole pastime, we see this whole pastime talks about one important devotional siddhanta. Rupa Goswami also mentions the 64 items of bhakti. One of the anga of bhakti is that one should not hear the blasphemy of the Supreme Lord and the devotees. Not hearing the blasphemy. So the way Sati is choosing to react for the offense committed by Daksha to Shiva. So that we can see in this particular episode. Because Daksha committed a great offense to Shiva, disrespected Shiva, so Sati did not tolerate it. So, for example, another example which comes is in the 10th canto, when Yudhishthira Maharaja is performing the Rajasuya Yajna. So there was an Agra Puja in which the most important personality is to be shown respect. So they chose Lord Krishna for that particular position. But at that time, Shishupal started blaspheming Krishna. And when Shishupal started blaspheming, immediately the Pandavas could not tolerate it. They were about to kill Shishupal. Immediately they became angry, they were about to kill Shishupal, but Krishna stopped the Pandavas. So this episode is also quoted that how the devotees like Pandavas did not tolerate the blasphemy committed by Shishupal to Krishna. So one should not hear the blasphemy. Another example is in the Ramayana itself. So when a person gives oral reception to the blasphemy, then one's mind will also get contaminated. And the example is Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi gave a humble oral reception to Manthara's words. And the result is that Kaikeyi's mind got contaminated and she asked those two boons from Dashrath Maharaj. So therefore, Prabhupada is highlighting that one should be extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities. This is one of the important principle which is comes in this particular episode. So Sati was extremely careful that she wanted to give up her connection with Daksha. So the Bhagavatam always gives for every principle, Bhagavatam gives a very high example for following the principle. We cannot literally imitate by giving up our body, but we have to understand this principle. We should not give oral reception to the blasphemer. We should be careful to avoid the association of people who disrespect the higher authorities. So therefore, scriptures time and again they emphasize about associating with the devotees and avoiding the association of the non-devotees. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo viduhu sayeva sadhushu kruto mokshadvaram apavritam. So when a person associates with the devotees of the Lord, it opens the doors of liberation. And when a person associates with the non-devotees, one simply remains bound to this world. So, the scriptures not only warn about associating with the objects of sense enjoyment, but scriptures also warn about associating with the people who are attached to those objects of sense enjoyment. Scriptures warn both actually. So therefore, the association with great personalities, devotees who are great souls, will elevate one to the spiritual platform. Sati Devi decided to quit the body she had obtained from Daksha and she wanted to transfer herself to another body so that she might have uncontaminated association of Lord Shiva. So the next life, Sati would take birth as a daughter of the Himalayas. And so the relationship between Sati and Lord Shiva is eternal. So therefore, in the next life, when she would take birth as the daughter of Himalayas, she would again accept Shiva as the husband. Because Sati and Shiva are eternally related. The relationship is never broken, although the body changes. Next shloka. Tatasva Bhartush Charanambujasavam.
Tatasvabhartuscharnambhujaswavam
Jagadguru Chintayati na Chaparam.
जगद्गुरोश्चिन्तयति न चापरम्
ददर्श देहो हतकल्मषः सती
ददर्श देहो हतकल्मषसति
सद्य प्रज्ज्वाल समाधिजाग्निना
सद्य प्रज सद्य प्रज्वालसमाधिजाग्निना. Translation. Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements.
So this verse describes that Sati meditated on Lord Shiva. Tatas swabartuhu charanambujasavam. Jagadgurus chintayati. Chintayati means she meditated. On whom? Swabartu, her own husband. Charanambujasavam, the lotus feet of her own husband, Lord Shiva. Who is the Jagadguru, who is the Guru of the entire universe. And then na chaparam, she did not see anything else. That means her mind was completely focused on Lord Shiva. And at that time, Dadarsha Deho Hata Kalmasha Sati Sadhya Prajajwala Samadhi Jagnina. So because of completely focusing her meditation on Lord Shiva, her identity as the daughter of Daksha was destroyed by that samadhi, in meditation on Lord Shiva. And then at that time, there was a huge fire lit up. There was suddenly a huge fire lit up actually. Nobody was actually, others were, they did not actually, they didn't realize that Sati is going to give up her body. It all happened in a matter of flash. Suddenly, Sadhya Prajajwala Samadhi Jagnina. Sadhya means suddenly there was a huge fire lit up in a flash. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions that Sati is the personification of Maya Shakti. And because the Maya is eternal, that Sati is also eternal. So Sati simply wanted to give up this body and then accept another body, which is not in connection with Daksha. But Sati is eternal and a relationship with Lord Shiva is also eternal. One should not say that because things made of Maya are temporary, one should not say that Sati's body was destroyed. So one should not say that Sati's body was destroyed because the form of Maya is eternal. This comment is made by Vishwanath Chakravarti. What we can say is that this particular manifestation of her body became unmanifest. She got another body which is not in relation with Daksha. So, so Prabhupada explains that by meditating on the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, she became free from all contamination. What was the contamination? The contamination was her concept of the body derived from Daksha. That was the contamination. She became freed from the contamination. The purport is that when one becomes free from all the bodily relationships within the material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant to the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burnt by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. So samadhi, in the yoga process also, when a person reaches the samadhi, one should become freed from all the bodily identification, bodily contamination. So in the Bhagavatam also, it's explained that if a person keeps his bodily relationships at the same time, if a person poses oneself to be a great yogi, then he is not bona fide. He is not bona fide. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, once he actually went to take bath in the Ganges. After he came out of the Ganges, one person was inviting him to the house, one sannyasi. And then he went to the sannyasi's house. And the sannyasi uh, called for a woman from inside. And that woman brought a liquor. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that this person is a dress of a sannyasi. He thought that this person is a sannyasi. But then suddenly he got a woman he said that this woman is my wife, and then that woman brought a liquor. Then Mahaprabhu immediately ran from that place. So Prabhupada says that if a person keeps the bodily relationship within the material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yadikshanam, yadvandanam, yat shravanam, yadarhanam, lokasya sadyo vidunoti kalmasham, tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. Shukdev Goswami says in this prayer, Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yadikshanam. Simply by doing kirtan of the Supreme Lord, simply by remembering the Supreme Lord, simply by seeing the form of the Lord, simply by hearing about the Lord, or simply by worshipping the Lord even once, lokasya sadyo vidunoti kalmasham. One becomes immediately freed from all the contamination. To that supremely auspicious Bhagavan, I offer my obeisances. So here in this episode, Sati is performing the Ashtanga Yoga, meditated on Lord Shiva, and got freed from all the contamination. In this age, the best process to get freed from contamination is the process of Bhakti Yoga. That is highlighted by Prabhupada. And Jiva Goswami says that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. And Vishwanath Chakravarti also says that Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency. So therefore, when she quit her body, she simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha to another body as the daughter of Himalayas into the womb of Menaka. So Menaka would be her future mother. Next shloka. Tatpashyatam ke bhuvichadbhutam mahad.
तत्पश्य तत्पश्य का
तत्पश्यताम के भुविचाद्भुतम महद. No sound coming.
तत्पश्यतां के भुवि चाद्भुतं महत्
खाहेति वाद सुमहान जायत.
हाहेति वादः सुमहन् अजायत
अंतप्रिया दैवतमस्य देवी.
हन्तप्रिया दैवतमस्य देवी
जहावसून्केन सती प्रकोपिता.
जहावसुंकेन सती प्रकोपिता. Translation. When Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was a tumult tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of most respectable demigod Lord Shiva, quit her body in such a manner?
So you see, others actually did not expect that Sati is going to hit her body. Uh, Sati was sitting in the yogic posture. Others did not think that Sati is going to hit her body. And suddenly a fire got generated and her body was consumed by the fire. So when the Sati had come along with the other associates of Lord Shiva had sent his associates as a protection for Sati. So there was a immediately tumultuous roar all over the universe. Uh, and so they all got completely surprised that Antapriya Daivatamasya Devi Jahavasun Kena Sati Prakopita. Why did Sati quit her body in that manner? Everyone was surprised. So, angered by Daksha, Sati, who was dear to the Lord Shiva, gave up her life. But this is a material perception. Sati transferred herself from this body to another body. So then, at that time, they all criticized Daksha. So, just 1 minute. So here Prabhupada explains that when since Sati was the daughter of a great personality, the wife of a great personality, she had nothing to desire, but still she gave up her body in dissatisfaction. Certainly, this was astonishing. So this shows that even if a person is situated in the greatest material opulence, one cannot attain complete satisfaction. There was nothing Sati could not achieve, either from her relationship with her father or from her relationship with the greatest of the Devatas, that is Lord Shiva. But still she was dissatisfied. So Prabhupada highlights here in the purport, the real satisfaction can be obtained only by unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje ahaityuk apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Only by unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service, a person can get real satisfaction. This point is highlighted by Prabhupada. Otherwise, there is no possibility of satisfaction in the material. Next shloka. Aho anatmyam mahadasya pashyata
अहो अनाद्यं महदस्य पश्यत
prajapateryasya characharam prajaah
प्रजापतेर्यस्य चराचरं प्रजाः
jahavasun vimatatmaja sati
जहावसून्यद्विमतात्मजा सती
मनस्विनी मानमभीक्ष्णमर्हति.
मनस्विनी मानमभीक्षणमर्हति. Guruji, translation I'm not able to see clearly.
Translation: It was astonishing that Daksha, who was Prajapati, the maintainer of all living entities, was so disrespectful to his own daughter, Sati, who was not only chaste but also a great soul, that she gave up her body because of his neglect.
So here, you see, aho anatmyam mahadasya pashyata. Anatmyam. Anatmyam means Daksha is a living corpse or a living dead body. So all the people, they criticized Daksha. Aho anatmyam mahadasya pashyata. So see that living corpse belonging to Daksha. So Sati deserved the utmost respect. But this person, Daksha, failed to show respect to Sati just because Sati was connected to Lord Shiva. Sati was connected to Lord Shiva. Daksha Prajapati did not show respect to Sati. So because of being disrespected, Sati actually gave up her life. So this Daksha is a person, Anatmyam. He is a living dead man. He is a living corpse. That means a person in whom a soul does not exist. In this way, everyone criticized Daksha. Although she was his daughter and wife of Shiva and wise, he was so abominable because he did not respect her. So this is the extent of, although Sati is the youngest daughter of Daksha, but Daksha had such a deep-rooted envy towards Shiva. He did not even acknowledge the presence of Sati. And everyone criticized Daksha. Because of you only, you are a living corpse, you are a living dead man. The Prabhupada highlights in the purport that the word anatmyam is significant. Atmya is the life of the soul. So this word indicates that although Daksha appeared to be living, actually he was a dead body. Otherwise, how could he neglect his own daughter? So Daksha Prajapati, Daksha is a Prajapati. Prajapati means he is supposed to procreate the living entities and take care of the living entities, nourish the living entities. But this person, Daksha, although he is a Prajapati, he failed in his duty. He neglected his own daughter, and therefore everyone criticized Daksha. The death of Sati, because of her being neglected by Daksha, was most astonishing to all the great devatas of the universe. Next word, sloka. Soyam durmarsha hridayo brahmadrukcha.
Soyam. Carry on, Madhavi.
Soyam durmarsha hridayo brahmadruksha.
Loke pakirtimahatiimava. Loke pakirtimahatiimavapsyati.
Loke prakirti mahatim mahamavapyasi.
Yadangajam swam purushat vidudyatam.
Yadangajam swam purushad vidudyatam.
Na pratyashedan mritaye paradata.
न प्रत्यषेदं मृतये पराधताः. Daksha, who is so hard-hearted that he is unworthy to be a Brahmana, will gain extensive ill fame because of his offenses to his daughter, because of not having prevented her death, and because of his great envy to Supreme Personality. Great envy to is it Prabhuji discovered to Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So we see this is an important shloka. So in this shloka, it is said that all the people they are telling about Daksha. This Daksha is Brahmadruk. Brahmadruk means he is violent to the Brahmanas or envious of the Brahmanas. Durmarsha Hridaya. Durmarsha Hridaya means intolerant Daksha. Daksha who is intolerant, who is violent to the Brahmanas. This Daksha loke apakirtim avapsyati. He will gain mahatim apakirtim. He will gain great infamy in this world. Why? Because he hated Lord Shiva. Purusha Dvid. Because he hated Lord Shiva, because of his envy towards Lord Shiva, na pratyashedan. Na pratyashedan means he did not prevent his daughter. Mritaye paradata. Daksha could have stopped. Daksha could have stopped Sati from actually entering the fire. As soon as the first flame had come, he could have at least made an effort to stop Sati. But he did not even put an effort actually. Why? Because of his envy towards Lord Shiva, he was so hard-hearted that he did not even prevent his daughter when she prepared to die because of his neglect. So you see, Prabhupada's translation, there is an interesting point. Prabhupada translates the shloka as, because of his great envy of the Supreme Personality of God. Daksha did not even prevent the death of his daughter because of his great envy of the Supreme Personality of God. Actually, Daksha was envious of Shiva only. Purusha Dvid. The Purusha Dvid means the enemy of Lord Shiva because he hated Lord Shiva. But then Prabhupada translates it because of his envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do we understand? Because envy towards a Vaishnava is equal to envy towards Krishna. Envy towards a Vaishnava is equal to envy towards Krishna. Lord Shiva is the greatest of all the Vaishnavas. Being envious of Lord Shiva is equivalent to being envious of the Supreme Personality of God. So, some commentators, so hard-hearted person, you can see Daksha's hard-heartedness, it will also be explained in the next chapter also. His own youngest daughter was ended her life in front of his eyes. He did not even put an effort to stop. So in some versions of the shloka, instead of the word Brahmadruk, the word Brahma Bandhu is mentioned. That means somebody who is born in a Brahmana family but has no Brahminical qualification. Such a person is a Brahma Bandhu. So a Brahmana is supposed to be soft-hearted, and Brahmana is supposed to be very tolerant. Tolerance is the real beauty of a Brahmana. And there's a shloka which comes in the 9th canto. Jamadagni chastises Parashuram because Parashuram went and attacked Kartiviri Arjun and killed all the Kartiviri Arjun and his army. And Jamadagni chastises Parashuram. The beauty of a Brahmana is tolerance, but you fail to show your Brahminical quality. Right? But here Daksha is supposed to be a Brahmana, he is supposed to be tolerant, but Daksha is Durmarusha Hridaya. He showed intolerance. That is what Vishnu Chakotipat says that. Vishnu Chakotipat says that Daksha was intolerant. Durmarusha Hridaya. So, Daksha was not forbearing for the simple reason that his son-in-law did not get up to show him the formality of respect. He couldn't tolerate that. He became so angry and hard-hearted that he tolerated even the death of his dearest daughter. So another point we can see here is that Sati came to the sacrifice of Daksha. She thought that she can somehow patch up the misunderstanding between her father and Lord Shiva. She came with the intention to somehow resolve this misunderstanding. But Sati, although she tried her best, even she could not actually solve the misunderstanding. Even without an invitation, she came, but she couldn't solve the misunderstanding. That means sometimes we find that false ego can be so powerful that despite our best efforts, sometimes two persons' false ego can be too powerful. Although one may be putting great effort to resolve the misunderstanding, still it becomes very difficult to resolve the misunderstanding. So Daksha means expert, and he was given this name because of his ability to beget many hundreds and thousands of children. And persons who are too much sexually inclined and materialistic, such people also become very hard-hearted because of a slight loss of prestige, that they can tolerate even the death of their children. So this is also when a person becomes too much attached to sense gratification. The result is that a person will commit a Vaishnava apara, and a person can become so hard-hearted that one will even tolerate the death of one's own daughter. So last four shlokas I will just quickly cover. Vadatyevam jane satya drishtvasu tyagam adbhutam daksham tat parshad hantum udatishtan udayuda. So at that time, when all the people were talking in this way, criticizing Daksha, so the attendants of Sati, that is the associates of Lord Shiva, they did not expect that Sati would give up her body. And they became very angry. They immediately, because they understood Daksha is the cause of the death of Sati. So immediately they took up their weapons to kill Daksha. So at that time, Tesham apatatam vegam nishamya bhagavan bhruguhu yagyagna gnena yajusha dakshinagnav juhavaha. So when the attendants of Sati, when they came to attack Daksha, so at that time Bhrugumuni noticed that. So Bhrugumuni, in order to protect Daksha, he immediately offered oblations in the Dakshinagni, the southern, a fire in the southern side, by chanting the Yajurveda mantras. Because he felt that, oh, these people, these associates of Lord Shiva, they are going to disturb the entire sacrifice. They are going to kill Daksha. So therefore, in order to stop that, he chanted the Yajurveda mantras and offered oblations in the Dakshinagni. And Bhrigumuni offered oblations. There were certain Ribu Devatas, certain personalities called as Ribus. They came in thousands. Advaryuna Huyamane Deva Utpetu Rojasa Ribavo Nama Tapasa Somam Prapta Sahasrashaka. Thousands of Ribu Devatas immediately came from that sacrifice. And then these Ribu Devatas immediately attacked the Lord Shiva's associates. And then being attacked by this Ribu Devatas, all these associates of Lord Shiva, they all fled in all the directions. So here, so Prabhupada explains that, so these associates of Lord Shiva, they felt that because they were sent by Lord Shiva for the protection of Sati. But since they were unable to protect their master's wife, they decided to die for the sake of Sati. Therefore, they wanted to kill Daksha. But as soon as Bhrigumuni noticed that, he chanted the mantras and created the Ribu Devatas. So we can see the power of chanting the mantras. So in the present age Kali Yuga, it is not possible to find expert mantra chanters. So Prabhupada says in one place he says that if a person learns to pronounce the shlokas properly, wherever he goes in India, he will be respected like a god. Therefore, Prabhupada was telling his disciples, learn to pronounce the shlokas properly. If you learn to pronounce the shlokas properly, wherever you may go, you will be respected like a god. Because another place Prabhupada says that one should learn to pronounce the shlokas properly in order to attract the people towards Krishna. Another place Prabhupada says that why we have given diacritic marks. You see, Prabhupada was very particular about giving diacritic marks. In one place he said, in every book, whatever book we may publish, ensure that the diacritic marks are there. So the diacritic marks are there for those people who can't read the Devanagari script, who want to read the shloka with English, then they have to read with the help of a diacritic mark to identify the difference between Sakara, Shakara and Shakara. One person was commenting why there are actually three Sakara in Sanskrit. There is a Dantya Sakara, there is Talavya Shakara, and there is Murdanya Shakara. Sakara is pronounced from the Dantya. Shakara is pronounced from the Talu portion. Shakara is pronounced from the Murda. So one person was commenting that why there is a need of three Shakara? Let there be only one Shakara. So another devotee commented. He said that, okay, let us have only Amit Shah. Let us have only one Shakara, that is Amit Shah only. Let us not have any other Shakara. And then the devotee was joking. So the point is, why I'm mentioning is that the Prabhupada also, there are several quotations where Prabhupada emphasizes the devotees to learn to chant the shlokas as far as possible with proper pronunciation. So in this purport, Prabhupada says that previously people were so expert in the mantra chanting. Simply by mantra chanting, Bhrigu Muni created thousands of Vibhu Devatas. So in this Kali Yuga, such mantra chanting is not possible. Therefore, the Sankirtan Yajna is the only possible Yajna recommended for Kali Yuga. So then, at that time, all the Raghu Munis got Raghu Devatas. They came and actually all were very powerful, and they had achieved strength from the Soma, and they immediately attacked the associates of Lord Shiva. So Prabhupada explains that so these Ribhu Devatas, they were generated from the Brahminical power of Bhrigu Muni. And in front of the Brahminical power of the Bhrigu Muni, all these associates of Lord Shiva, they could not stand. And they all fled in the different directions. So that is why in this last shloka, Ushadbir Brahma Tejasa, the word is there. That means the Brahmanas were so powerful that simply by desiring and by chanting a Vedic mantra, they could accomplish very wonderful effects. The Brahma Tejasa is important. So therefore, so according to Pancharatrika system, in this age, the entire population is supposed to consist of the Shudras because the Brahminical culture has been lost. But if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to Vaishnava Smriti regulations as a prospective Brahmana and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. So this is a verse spoken, Sanatana Goswami says that if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to the Vaishnava Smriti regulations as a prospective Brahmana and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. So sometimes one may question why Prabhupada started giving Brahman Diksha to people who are not born from the Brahman families. So, in this age, even the people born in the Brahmana family, very few people continue to perform the Brahminical duty. Most of them have deviated from the Brahminical duty. Then, in that case, in order to continue, maintain the worship of the Supreme Lord, one has to give Brahman Diksha, and the Shastras say that even a Vaishnava who is not born in a Brahmana family, he can be given the Brahmana Diksha. That's what Prabhupada is quoting. So the most magnanimous gift of Lord Chaitanya is that the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age. If one simply adopt the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities and self-realization. So in this way, this chapter ends. So all these associates of Lord Shiva, they fled from that place, and then they went back to Lord Shiva, and they will go to report to Lord Shiva. And then what will Lord Shiva do? Hearing that whole incident of Sati giving up her body, that we'll see in the next chapter. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yeah. So this I've understood the context is because maybe Vritrashura's devotional prayers had to be highlighted and lessons to be learned. That's why this whole episode happened. But had he known Chitraketu
Vrit-
Maharaj, had he known Hare Krishna? Yeah.
Vritrasur what?
Uh, no. What I wanted to say is that because Vritrasur's devotional prayers had to be highlighted and lessons to be learned from us, and that's why the whole episode happened about Chitraketu Maharaj. So, had he known that Lord Shiva worships Parvati Devi as a deity, like keeping her on his lap, but then that offense he wouldn't have done, right? Like, because of course that was will of providence that the whole episode happened. Just so that is one thing. And I wanted to ask you that about Jamadagni. You yourself mentioned that how he got angry. I mean, because a Brahmana has to be tolerant, one of the quality of. So then he himself told his son to kill his mother, right?
Yeah, Jamadagni chastised Parashuram for showing anger towards Kartiviri Arjun. But later, Jamadagni also became a victim of excessive anger. And Jamadagni also, as I Prabhupada highlights in that purport in the 9th canto, this shows that how the anger is powerful, that even Jamadagni became excessively angry. He told Parashuram to kill his mother and the other brothers. So, because of that excessive anger, Jamadagni got a reaction. He was killed by Kartiviri Arjun's sons.
What did you say? Because of the excessive anger?
Because of the excessive anger he showed towards Renuka, his wife, as a reaction to that, Jamadagni was killed by Kartiviri Arjun's sons. So I'll show you that purport. 1 minute. How do I search for it? One minute. Yeah, see this purport. Jamadagni was certainly very powerful due to his austerities. But because of a slight offense by his poor wife Renuka, he ordered that she be killed. This certainly was a sinful act, and therefore Jamadagni was killed by the sons of Kartiviri Arjun, as described herein. Lord Parashuram was also infected by sin because of killing Kartiviri Arjun, although this was not very offensive. Therefore, whether one be Kartiviri Arjun, Lord Parashuram, Jamadagni, or whoever one may be, one must act very cautiously and sagaciously. Otherwise, one must suffer the results of sinful activities. This is a lesson we receive from the Vedic literature. So Jamadagni, he became excessively angry and he ordered Parashuram to kill Renuka. And as a reaction, Jamadagni got killed by the sons of Kartivirya. That's what is explained.
Or even if you want to give a benefit of doubt, I mean, just trying to analyze this whole situation, yourself just mentioned, right, that Bhagavatam gives a high standard, not extreme, but a high standard. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you yourself mentioned about that episode. So maybe he wanted to set up a high standard that a woman should be chaste even in her thoughts.
No, but the Acharyas are not writing that purport. We have to stick to the Acharyas purports. This is what it's a Jamadagni. It's a to give such a punishment is not the thing actually. To some slight maybe deviation in the thought in the mind, but Jamadagni ordered Renuka to be killed and then to other sons also to be get killed. So very he got carried away with the anger. It's very ideal. Generally, one should be strict with oneself and lenient with others. Strict with oneself and lenient with others. One should be forgive the others' mistake. But sometimes one should not, when a person becomes too much strict on others, expects a very high standard from others. That is also punishment. When you want to punish a person, punishment should be in such a way of elevating a person. It may appear that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict in regards to Chota Haridas. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's punishment only elevated Chota Haridas. Chota Haridas got a spiritual body. Every day he would come in a spiritual body and sing Kirtan for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, therefore, punishment, even punishment should be in the form of elevating a person. Should not be born out of excessive punishment is a sign of karma. Punishing more than necessary, the sign of karma. So Parashuram, Jamadagni was mentioned. He became more angry than required. Okay.
Also, you also mentioned about that Brahman Diksha, right? For Western disciples. You mentioned something like that. Yeah, so I think in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes, that the so-called Brahmanas, about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he speaks about him, that's how the so-called Brahmanas who claim that one who is not born into a Brahmana family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. But Prabhupada says we do not accept such a theory because it is not supported by Rupa Goswami or by the strength of various scriptures. Something.
No, actually, see, scriptures talk about all 3 points. They also give importance to birth. They give importance to guna and karma. The quotations for all 3 are there. The 10th canto Janmana Brahmano Guruhu. Like that, there is a shloka is there. Nanda Maharaj is telling to Gargacharya. By birth, a Brahmana is a Guru. In the Uddhava Gita, 11th canto, 17th chapter, Krishna mentions in a shloka about the how a person's varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they are recognized at the time of one's birth. That means by the family in which a person is born, by that one can recognize a person's varna. So birth is definitely given importance. Previously, when people would follow, like even nowadays also we see. Nowadays also we see the birth is given importance, not just in a Brahminical this one. Politicians, people, they become politicians. Cricketers, they go into cricketers. Movie stars, they go into movie star. Almost we see everywhere actually. So generally, when a person follows a certain, say, occupational duty, certain culture for few generations, so the same varna, this one, that also gets transmitted to the next generation also. But what happened in the progress of Kali Yuga, the varnashram degraded and the people stopped following their varna duties, including the brahmanas. They stopped following their brahminical occupation. So then, uh, the previously the culture tradition was that only those who were born in a Brahman family, they were given the Brahman Diksha. And because previously the Varnashram was to extent it was being followed nicely, so therefore there was no need to make somebody else as a Brahmana who is not born from a Brahman family, because mostly Varnashram was being followed and they were that was that system was tradition was there. But later, only in the last century, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he actually gave Brahman Diksha to even those who are not born in a Brahmana family, because he saw the degradation and there is also support in the Shastra which says that if a person sees the Brahminical qualities in a person, even if he is not born in a Brahmana family, he can be recognized as a Brahmana. Shastra support that. So previously also the Shastric statements were there, but the Acharyas did not utilize that because there was no need. The Varnashram system was going on properly. But later, as a degradation of Kali Yuga, then Acharyas they started giving Brahman Diksha to those who are not born in a Brahman family. Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur did it within India, but Prabhupada did it even for the Westerners. So the reason was that there's a Shastric quote was also there, and there was a need, and then the existing Brahmanas were they were not performing the Brahminical duties, and there is a need of the Brahmanas, and the Shastric support was there. So therefore, the Acharyas introduced the system, and at the same time, yeah, one should, on a practical level, one should give respect to the even the caste Brahmanas, those who are born in a Brahmana family. One should give respect to that. But there is a Shastric support for the unconventional tradition started with the Acharyas. It is there in the Shastras, but it was not utilized previously because there was no need.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. So we'll stop here at 9:20. Thank you very much. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।